Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to all my writers and weirdos out there. It is Monday, May 12th. It is Manic Monday, May 12th, 2025. I am KibbyRose. I'm AuthorTube's lesbian psychic stoner, and I am here to entertain you and help you get some work done. And for all my writer friends that are often lost in their own dark black holes, some current event rants and everything else. It's not been a very good weekend for me, I have to admit. So my mood is kind of down here a little bit. So please forgive me. But I do want to wish all of my mothers out there a happy belated Mother's Day, because I missed saying it on Friday and it was Sunday, and I just wanted to wish all of you a happy Mother's Day. So couple of things before we get started. I'm going to be continuing working on the Dance Moms picture project that I have been working on. I'm a little upset because I went back to go actually name photos thinking that I was done collecting them, and lo and behold, I find out that there's a good 50 that didn't save. So I'm going back through with my list. Luckily, I already have the list with the timestamps and the comments that I want to use. So we have that all listed and everything else. So I'll be going back and capturing those. But couple of things that I want to announce. First of all, the past rants posting project will be happening sooner rather than later. I have figured out a system on it, and I have been trekking right along on redoing all the videos. So probably starting June 1st, on Tuesdays and Thursdays, you guys will get posts of past rants. This is literally my old rants, starting from the very first one I ever did, my old sprints, but just without the sprint times. So it's literally just the conversation. We're going to see how it goes, and we'll go from there. What else was there? There's a couple other things that are going on in the works. If you've noticed, I have a new opener, a new closer again, but I swear this is going to be the last one. I feel like this is a more professional and well done one. So this is probably going to be the last time you see that updated for quite some time. But an update that I do want to give you is Fridays. For all of you that are my horoscope, psychic, witchy followers, Fridays I'm going to start doing psychic sprints. It's going to be kind of the same sprint layout, except instead of ranting about current events, I'm going to be doing psychic sprints. So hopefully, if you all can get me up to 500 subscribers, that way I can do super chants and I can super chats and do readings for random people that come into the live. But for now, the Fridays is going to be for my current clients that y'all already know how to pay me, and most of you are already aware of this. This is for those choice few that come in once a month and are probably checking into my YouTube channel to get updates. Also, if you become the information, if you want to become a regular client, is down below in my bio and everything else. So you can go ahead and look into that. But right now, we are going to jump into our first 10-minute sprint because, not only do I have a lot of work done, but frankly, the rants that I have to go off about, and guys, I've got some wild conspiracies going on here that I'm going to be sharing with you in a little bit. So after this 10-minute sprint, we're going to be covering a spider web that I want to, basically it's being exposed, and I want to kind of throw in my controversial take before it gets exposed. And then I have got just a list, guys, of just crazy stuff that popped off this weekend. And probably a lot of you don't know about it because you are all mothers and busy with Mother's Day. Everybody has a mother. Everybody knows a mother. So on that note, let me bring it up that's right. I had to close it down for other reasons. Okay, so hold on. We're going to mute that. We're going to pause that. I had this all set up. I had some videos exporting, and StreamYard takes up so much memory, so much running memory when it runs, that exporting 3 videos out of Final Cut Pro while having StreamYard going wasn't conducive. So I closed everything out so that I could do that. But for now, we are going to jump into a 10-minute sprint. So I will see you all in 10 minutes. All right. And yeah, so there might be another conspiracy about StreamYard and YouTube, and they're wanting to literally minimize and prevent streaming of certain topics. And my conspiracy is starting to get confirmed more and more. Anyway, on that note, I will see you all in 10 minutes. In 3, 2, 1. I'm sorry, this is for Amy. So I was about to put my headphones on. It's the first one in the playlist, the Armin van Buuren live at Ultra Music Festival Miami 2023. Okay. Minute mark 13:06. And that's the end of that spread. That's the end of that one. So we're going to delete that. So how did we all do? I have no idea. 21 plus another 10 or 5. So I'm gonna say 25 pictures that I had to grab, freeze frame or re-grab because of the computer that chose not to save, and I don't know why. So anyway, Cora came in. Hello, Cora. I am trying to relax, but we'll be back in and out as it is dinner time and then bedtime. And I think you definitely need to take the time and relax, my dear. And yeah, definitely recoup, re-energize, relax. You work your butt off anyway. And, you know, I think in a way you're kind of being forced to relax anyway. So if anybody else has gotten any other work done, just throw it in the chat. We will cheer you along and let me know. Other than that, we're gonna get right into some crazy conspiracy rants, whatever else is that I have going on in my head. Because if you know me, there's a lot that goes on up there. And not a lot all at the same time. It's kind of quite interesting, really, if you choose to be inside my head at any given time. So I was thinking about how there's a couple things that, okay, well, first of all, let me explain kind of how this happened. Every morning when I wake up, when I go and get my coffee, part of my ritual is literally lining up the YouTubes to listen in the background because I am ADHD and neurodivergent. Doesn't matter how much concentration that my work takes. I need to have something playing in the background. This is also how I catch up on a lot of current events and current news and kind of feel like I'm being social without actually being social or having to be social. Anyway, in doing this, a lot of times I'm just grazing over titles and adding to my watch later list. And depending on how eventful times are being, my list can be anywhere between 10 videos and, 57 like there was today. And I always listen on 2x speed. So a 15-minute video takes me about 7 minutes to get through. This is how I'm able to listen to so much. And yes, I listen to 2x speed while actually not really listening and doing other things, and I still catch all this information. How my mind works. Anyway, there was something where I came across several titles, and my angels threw in that whole what if thing. And if you know me and you know my angels, you know the what ifs are oftentimes what ends up being right. So I have learned to pay attention to the what ifs, even when they're just like, hey, what if this happened? Okay. So the what if that my angels decided to bring in is the following. And I'm going to give you who it's about first so that you can kind of have a generalized idea. Okay. Actually, we're going to say it first and then we'll go into it. So Victoria Dubray, the situation with Victoria Dubray is being investigated. The situation with Harry throwing a fit about not having security. The fact that the Diddy case has literally just started gaining momentum. My angels are like, what if there's a web that ends up being exposed through the Diddy case that connects the Weinstein, Lou Taylor, CD, who I still won't name until they figure out who the hell he is. Guys, sleuths, internet sleuths, Andy, Megan, Morgan, y'all figure it out. Figure out who CD is. I can't tell you. You all need to figure it out. I'm too small of a channel to be able to actually name names. So figure it out. CD, his initials, CD. Anyway, and how the royal family are all connected to something that's going on. And my angels were like, what if there was an SA figure 8? What if the Americans did it on UK soil and the UKs did it on American soil, and they said, oh, because we're doing it on other people's soil, on the ground level, on the street level, on the police level, not on the federal level, they'll brush it under the rug, they'll sweep it aside. So why don't we just, and there's going to be exposed this web where there's a lot of Hollywood elites, a lot of wealthy, a lot of very, 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 connected people that are about to be exposed in this whole SA figure 8 that they have figured out. We'll have to see what happens. That was the what if that my angels brought in, was literally, what if there was an SA figure 8? And I was just like, so, and with the way Harry is throwing a fit before the Diddy trials, and the way that Virginia just happened to do what she did, the fact that there's certain people that were connected to Lou Taylor, one of which, Justin Bieber, go boy, go boy, go, throw a hissy fit. You do exactly what you're doing. But there's other people that are connected to Lou Taylor, if you haven't noticed, kind of have silently pulled back from the limelight. And that might be because there's a lot more the feds know that Diddy's side is like, see, here's the thing, is I know that there's no way that Diddy's side is not privy to it, because I know law, I know court, whatever the feds have, Diddy's team already has. However, that doesn't mean they know how the feds have structurally organized it. And sometimes many people know it all comes down to how you structure it. And especially in a court of law, it all comes down to how you lay it out to the jury. And what I see is that Diddy's team is assuming that there's going to be a certain protocol followed, and they're going to be narrating a certain narrative, when actually it comes down to it, it's going to be very different than what they believe. I haven't been watching any of the stuff. Today was the first day. We'll have to hear what comes out inevitably on it. But yeah, that's what I'm hearing so far. So we'll have to wait and see what happens with that. But for a good little laugh, if you guys need, just in case you guys need, Megyn Kelly has decided to, this woman has got some balls. I'll give her that. She has got some cojones. I give her props for it. But she has come up with some amazing, hysterical spoofs on both Meghan Markle and the Origin flight. So if you haven't gotten a chance, I highly recommend going and watching. They're short little spoofs. They're like, I think they're like 5 or 10 minutes long. Could be 10, 15 minutes long, because I listened to everything on 2x speed. But they were, I have to tell you guys, with everything serious that's going on right now in the world, it was a great little giggle to see these girls literally just have fun with it. And the other thing that cracked me up is I was just like, you know what? This just proves that if Katy Perry and all those women had done what Megyn Kelly did and just kind of had fun with it, instead of taking it so freaking seriously, like they're actually astronauts or something, it probably would have been far more successful. And not only that, but people watching Katy Perry's concert probably would have expected the dance moves and the choreography and everything else that's currently going on. You know, if you learn to make light of it and have fun with it, you might just be able to convince the public that you're not fake. Just saying, you know. And since StreamYard and YouTube and Wi-Fi have decided to test me and test my patience, which we're not doing today. Like, don't test my patience today. Not in the mood. We're going to jump into a 20-minute sprint, and it'll be that easy. When we get back, guys, I have some predictions about FEMA that are coming up. I have some commentary about Biden's wife and the View ladies. I've got a couple predictions coming up in regards to the re-release of Snow White, and possibly the McBrooms coming right back into conversation. And I have a little rant to do about Back to Bar, because yeah, but that's all coming after this 20-minute sprint. So I will see you all in 20 minutes. All right. And in 3, 2, 1. And don't forget to mute you. So that's the end of that sprint. I fought a little with my computer, simply because the way it organizes files when you screen save, sometimes I had to figure out that it doesn't necessarily save it by name. Anyway, it's hard to explain, but there's a weird way that, because it's Apple, it saves it a weird Apple way, and I blame Bezos. And so I had to reorganize my files so that they'll match up to the actual order of my notes, because for some strange reason, when you screenshot, it doesn't save that way. It's hard to explain, but it's something I figured out doing this for as long as I've been doing this. So I fought a little bit with that, but for the most part, I got the pictures re-screen grabbed from the ones that didn't save last time. And I was able to, in next sprint, I will be naming or renaming or adding my, whatever you want to call it. Anyway, how did we all do on our sprints? Did we get any work done? I am literally just babbling at this point. So we're going to pull up our notes and we're going to get into the actual rants that I have organized so that I don't just sound like a babbling buffoon at the moment. Anyway, so as I was saying, prior to going into that sprint, I do have a prediction about FEMA. In regards to, there's been some new information popping forward, especially now that we're heading into hurricane season, and here in Spokane, Washington, fire season. And it's been a dry winter for us. So yeah, they're predicting fire season is going to be bad. I'm actually saying, because I wanted to do some meditation on this, because I was really worried, because FEMA actually has been very stretched. I know people in Louisiana that survived Katrina. I know people in North Carolina that survived their hurricane. I also know people that had their homes ripped apart in Florida. The tornado alley has expanded. FEMA has been stretched to its limits, and I would love to think that our federal government was good enough at overseeing so many departments. However, actions speak louder than words. And I think proof is in the pudding. I'm using a lot of analogies here. So when I looked at what they were doing with FEMA, that they're kind of like breaking it down, handing it over to a whole new company, restructurizing, reorganizing, I started to kind of panic a little bit, because, well, I don't know I wasn't sure if necessarily a new company coming in and taking over is going to be a good thing. Well, from what I can see, guys, it's going to make a huge difference. A lot of the loose ends, from what I can see, this new company, we'll have to see what happens. But from what I can see, instead of trying to play catch up like FEMA was going to do, they literally have two teams, one set at one end, one set at the other, where they're going to be working from this way in. So they're going to have people that are a whole team that's going to be working on the old cases to close them out. And they're going to have a whole team set up to work on new cases as they come in. I don't know if this is actually the way it was, but from what I can see, FEMA had it structurized where the same people that were handling the old cases were handling new cases as they came in. And that is kind of why things got delayed, because the urgency of new matters kind of overtook things that hadn't been completed yet. I see that the restructuring is going to be a good thing. I actually see that within 2 years, it's almost like what I can see is like this private company is going to hand the whole FEMA thing back to the government, because they're going to be like, okay, now that we've recreated this, we're going to sell it back to you and you can run it. And when you need help, we're going to come in and give you advice. So we'll see how this goes, but hopefully we'll have a better FEMA this year for emergencies and everything else than we've had all the prior years. Because if you've ever had to deal with FEMA, you know the absolute headache. I mean, you thought dealing with the IRS was jumping through hoops on telephone calls. You should try dealing with FEMA. Anyway, the next little rant I had, this was just more of a Google, because I have tried so hard to stay away from ranting about the View ladies. I really have. If you guys hadn't noticed, I've kind of kept my mouth shut the last couple streams, because I was just like, you know what? They're going to keep putting their foot in their mouths, kind of like Rachel Ziegler. So I might as well just shut my mouth about it, because nothing's going to happen. Well, I think they might have sealed their fate along with Joe Biden's. and the Democratic Party all in one foul swoop. And it kind of cracks me up because my angels were like, when I saw that this happened, they were like, is this not hitting all three corners of the triangle and just taking it down? And I was like, so if you haven't seen it, I highly advise going and seeing Joe Biden's most recent interview on The View with the View ladies. Not only was it an absolute word salad, like you would expect somebody, I don't know, maybe that does drugs would happen to do. But his wife literally had to jump in and save his butt in the conversation. And then you literally watch Joe Biden do like he's a disciplined puppy dog. I literally watched that thing. Okay, so first of all, I watched it with the sound on and it caught my attention with the sound. And I was like, what the? So I went back, rewound it, turned the sound off, and just watched the body language, you guys. The body language. This is my next conspiracy. This is just my own opinion. I really do believe that Jill Biden and Kamala Harris were running the show behind the scenes, guys. I really do think those two women were running our country. I really do. After this conversation, I was like, dude, you cannot tell me that this didn't happen in the Oval Office. You cannot tell me that. With the way she had to take over and the way that The View, and here's the other tale. This is the other tale. It wasn't just Jill taking over the conversation. It was how The View ladies just accepted it. Like they were used to it. That's where it kinged with me. I was like, normally if that happened, you'd be like, well, can we hear the president? I mean, yes, Jill, I appreciate you answering for Joe, but I would like to hear it from his mouth, not the whole goopy goop conversation that ended up taking up afterwards. It literally was like Biden was just there for show. Like Joe was just there for show. And what the act, like they exposed so much about what was really going on behind the scenes, both in Hollywood and in politics right there. And when I was watching that, that's when my angels, when I saw that and I was like, oh my God, that's just shameful. My angels were like, well, isn't this the perfect way to expose all 3 points of the pyramid and have it fall? Wow. So there's my conspiracies for you. I really do think, I don't think that it was Joe Biden that was elected into office. I think it was somebody else. I also think that daddy and son don't fall, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. And if if a father has an addiction problem with a certain substance, the child is more than likely to have the same addictive personality or problem. I don't know. There's just a lot coming out that I'm not going to say forward that that definitely other channels are going to say. But I told you guys that in the long run, it is going to go down in history. They will write in the history books that Trump was the greatest president that ever lived, and Biden was the worst president that we've ever had. And Biden's presidency will be used in the future as the biggest what not to do. And the amount of exposure that's going to come out inevitably. And here's the best, like from what I'm hearing from my angels, they just came in with this. They're like, and the best part is the people that they thought were going to keep their mouth shut aren't going to keep their mouth shut. Just like Diddy thought that people were going to come to his rescue and bail him out, have kept their mouth shut. That's how much they're going to keep their mouth shut yeah. So we'll have to see what happens, because I feel like I didn't just make sense. I'm gonna have to go back and listen to that because they just talked through me and I feel like I just contradicted myself in terms, and I'll have to re-listen to that. But basically what they're trying to say is, this just exposed a lot. The View interview with Joe Biden and Jill just exposed a heck of a lot more about the ins and outs and going ons behind the scenes than I think they expected to be exposed, because actions speak louder than words, and a lot of people are starting to pay attention to that fact. So on that note, now that I've rambled for a good, I think 30 minutes, I don't know, 20 minutes, we're going to jump into another sprint, another 20 minutes. Actually, we're going to take that off for a second so that I can rewind and not blow your ears out. So when we get back, I have I have a little bit of a nit to pick with the Back to the Bar ladies, and a little bit of insight too. And then if you guys didn't hear, we got a new pope. So I'm going to be commenting on that because he's from my home state. All right. So I'll see you guys in 20 minutes. In 3, 2, 1. And don't forget to... And we are done with that sprint. And we are done with that sprint. So I got 50, count them, 50 pictures named. Trucking right along on my list. 50 of, I don't know, 300. I think there was 344 pictures that I collected for this episode. Do I use them all? No. When I actually go through and do the video, some of them I'm just like, nah, we're not going to use that one. So, because, yeah, the fine tooth comb of my eye of like, is this going to, because I do it from the viewpoint of the girls. I want the girls, if they ever see this, to have a good experience and be able to maybe remember the good parts of what happened without having to be reminded of all the negative. Can I avoid all the negative? Not necessarily. I try. I can't leave like giant gaps in the picture collecting like I was having to leave a lot of that out. So instead, on those moments, I focus on kind of like the little things, like can I catch the cameraman in the mirror? Is Mackenzie or the girls making any funny faces or doing anything cute and unique in the background? Like, that's what I usually try to look for in those parts of the episode, is like, if they're fighting, what can I find in the background? So I'm not focusing on what's on the foreground. So that way, if the girls do come across these videos, they can see and maybe remember the good things and not necessarily the arguments. But anyway, continuing on that note, I have a conspiracy again. I don't know why, but there are certain things, and this has happened more than once, guys. This has happened so many times at this point. I'm just like, I'm going to be a little bit surprised if they're not. I feel like somebody that is connected to Christy Lukasiak specifically and the Back to the Bar is like watching my YouTube episodes. Why? Because there's a lot of stuff that I have mentioned or brought up or, conversed about, including astrology stuff that Christy has mentioned on her Back to the Bar stuff. And being a psychic, these things like stand out really loud to me. And I love it. If she is, like, I'm gonna fangirl a little bit, honestly, truthfully, I'd fangirl a little bit because I just love her. But also, I found it very interesting on the most recent Back to the Bar episode that they did. She mentioned that she got the production notes. And I found that highly coincidental because of the fact that I had mentioned that there's not many people that talk about the production notes anymore. Why? Because the production notes were actually acquired a long time ago. The way they were acquired and what happened while they were acquired were reasons that I didn't want to touch on it. That's why I loved Mac Z Boss, who did get a hold of a lot of them and did her full series on it, because there's certain fruits of the poisonous tree. And they do have poison attached to them when it comes to the karmic and everything else side. However, I found it very interesting because at first when I heard this, don't get me wrong, there was a part of me that A, went, is she listening to my channel? B, went, oh my God, how could she steal my idea? And then C went, wait, she's actually saving me some time and some work, because if she's adding it into her episode already, it's going to be saving me from having to listen to. So I literally went in within seconds on this whole roller coaster wave of how, like, oh my gosh, to how dare you to, oh my God, thank you. And on that note, I was also thinking, like, if she is connected, if by any chance, by some random chance, there is somebody connected to her that does listen to my channel, I almost want them to be like, hey, reach out to her, because I'm doing this whole picture series and I would love her to come in with me and give like commentary on it, because I'm telling you guys, I'm trying to make it fun and lighthearted and happy. So a lot of the notes I have, like, I've got some gnarly screenshots of some pretty funny things going on. And I would love to hear Christy do her whole commentary on it. And so I was just like, wouldn't that be fun if she just kind of like rattled along with me over, like, did the voiceover or whatever. So I doubt she ever would, but it would just be really cool if she did. And it would also help because of putting a lot of work into these picture videos. It's taking a lot longer and a lot more work than I thought it would. And I understand why some people I know that started this project originally dropped off after like the first season, because they were just like, it's so much work. And I get it, but I'm bound and like, you don't know me. I'm a stubborn Scorpio. I'm bound and determined to finish and do all of the videos and all the pictures and stuff like that. And I just thought it would be fun if she was connected, that because there's just too many coincidental things. And when I was following, I still follow them. When I was a paid member for their Patreon on Dear Dance Mom and Back to the Bar, they actually did answer my questions. Like it was one of the, like, you have no idea. It's kind of funny. My mom gave me the most pathetic look, because literally when it happened, I screenshotted it because, as the Back to the Bar readout, whatever, came up and my name came up, I freaked out and I ran upstairs and I was like, look! I totally fangirled for a minute. My mom was just like, I think Cora gave me the eye roll too when I told her. But yeah, there's so many things that have come up in their conversations and stuff in Back to the Bar where I'm just like, I've got questions. If it's not Christy herself, is it Mike? Is it intern Mike? Is it I don't know. Anyway, on the next note, I do want to say that I am really hoping that they give a little bit more detail into the producer notes and the background, or clarify when it's producer notes versus their own notes, because the most recent episode, I was, especially with my own reaction channels, I'd like to clarify if it was their commentary or the production notes or her commentary to the production notes. And there's she does it seamlessly. I love Christy's commentary. I absolutely do. And she does it seamlessly. But there's parts where I was just like, wait, was that production notes or was that your commentary to the production notes that you wove in seamlessly? And I couldn't tell. So I am going to have to still go back and listen to the Maxi Boss to get the details, like the stuff that I question from her podcast, so that I have it for when I do the reaction with Cora. But for the most part, yeah. And if you're not listening to Back to the Bar and Dear Dance Moms, and you are a Dance Moms fan, get on the podcasts and start listening. And they do have a Patreon where you can watch. I'm not going to, here I am promoting for other people's channels again, and I can't even get to 500 subscribers. Go figure. Anyway, on the next note, real quick, I'm not I am religious, but I was raised in the Catholic religion. So I do and I have a lot of family in Sicily and in Italy, and that entire side of my family is Catholic. So I do keep an eye on things such as, when the Pope dies. I found this rather interesting because I was actually giving friends of mine, information about what conclave was, how they go about choosing the Pope, what's the difference between the white smoke and the black smoke. And I found it very interesting how little people actually know about how they choose a Pope, the conclave, why it's all specific Catholic or specifically Catholic. So for instance, yes, you have to be a Catholic, you have to be of the Catholic religion. And the one thing I was surprised about is I thought you had to be born in Italy or within the walls of the city. I guess they changed that because our new Pope just happens to be a California-born Pope. And first of all, I didn't really believe it because I came into the part of Mass where he was speaking Italian, and Buongiorno. You definitely speak Italian very well. But it wasn't until I heard him address the congregation in English that I was like, oh, you are so from California. You have the California accent. I thought it was so cool. But I found it very interesting because he is one of the most quiet, subdued popes. He was actually, there was comment, they made comment that he actually didn't really want the position. He was surprised when he found out that he was in the top 3. So I found it very ironic that he happened to choose the name Leo, which is a fighting lion, but the pride and majestic lion that is out there, that once I thought about it, I was just like, I think he chose the right name. I think Pope Leo is the perfect name for him. And as boisterous and outgoing as Pope Francis was. Pope Leo is a little bit more subdued. However, he was chosen because he is going to follow a lot of what Pope Francis had already put forth and began. And that was another reason why he was highly chosen by the conclave, was because he was going to continue the initiatives that that Pope Francis had already begun in his papacy. So just a little bit of information on that. I thought it was kind of cool that the current Pope just happens to be from the same state as me. And not only that, but my grandmother's birth sign, the guardian angel of mine that you guys always see me hearing and whispering in my ear, just happens to be a Leo as well. So I thought that was kind of cool. And the last thing I want to mention is we have some for my friends and all of those that are kind of in a hot spot because of let me start over with this. For all my small business owner friends, there we go. That's better. For all my small business owner friends that rely on a lot of import exports for their businesses and a lot of mass production on other scales in other countries, there has been some good news on the tariff front in regards to China. Just know they have decided to put a pause on Chinese tariffs for 90 days. It is just a 90-day pause. We're going to see, I guess, how well this goes. I do really appreciate it because 90 days gives a lot of these small business owners a lot of, like, I have a lot of friends that I do readings for that straight up said, you know, if I just had another 60 days, if I just had 90 days, you know, I could rearrange and refigure things and not have to pay the tariffs. But because I don't have that window, that cushion, you know, what am I going to do? And believe me, it's been kind of depressing doing some readings for my small business owners for the last couple of days. It's been hard. Becky, I'm with you. My tears are almost coming back thinking of Becky's reading, and I'm not going to get into it. But on that note, just know there is some good news coming, and I really do see this as a forward momentum. You can't. A lot of the upper echelons of governments are starting to figure out that you really can't bite the hand that feeds you, and they're not the hand that feeds. They're quickly figuring out that the civil is the hand that feeds. And if you as a higher politician decide to go ahead and burn bridges, you're going to find out very quickly that you have no leg to stand on. So from what I can see, that is quickly what happened in not just China, but a lot of these countries that got hit with these tariffs. I'm seeing that Canada is next. It's taking a little bit longer for Canada to get hit. However, let's just say that there's a lot of Canadians that, as much as they hate Trump, they really like money in their pockets more and running their businesses. And so for a couple of my friends that are also in Canada, one of my friends, aren't you really happy that you didn't do a YouTube channel that requires, aren't you so glad that you do a reaction channel? I mean, honestly, aren't you? Because the cost of goods just to Canada from America, I think it was Maya Maples ended up paying like $500 in just tariffs from an American shipper. Anyway, so we've got good news coming on that front from what I can see. And the third little thing before we go into our last little sprint here is Letitia James. There has been more information coming out about the Letitia. And remember what I said, that karma is like bringing the hammer down. Like, you're not just paying for, like, it's not just an eye for an eye. Like, whatever you did to other people is not just coming back to you. It's coming back to you twofold. Okay. And an example of this is in the process of them figuring out what has been going on with Letitia James's mortgage and everything else. They have now uncovered that she actually covered up an SA situation that happened with one of her workers. And instead of handling the issue, they swept it under the rug and actually fired the person that made the claim. Melanie King's channel did a whole episode on this, and I highly recommend it because, well, first of all, I highly recommend Melanie King's channel as well. She is really good. She's really, girl, you need, when you go on, first of all, Melanie, when you go on vacation, you don't have to stream. Take some time off. And when you're on vacation, be on vacation. That's why you got sick. Okay. Second of all, she's really in depth. She's really good. She goes on vacation on a cruise, guys, and she still is live streaming. The girl gets sick on a cruise because you're live streaming from a cruise and supposed to be on vacation, and she's still streaming. She gets all her research. She goes in depth. I think her and Andy Signor are actually working together in regards to the Justin Baldone and I won't, my brain doesn't even want to say her name. How about that? Also, on that note, I forgot to bring that up. My prediction came true, guys. I warned Taylor Swift. I warned her that she was going to get pulled into this, that if she really thought that she wasn't going to get depositioned, she was sorely mistaken in all of it. Because the truth is, Blake Lively's mouth is what is getting all these people in trouble. Would it be in Taylor's best interest to tell the truth? From what I can see, she needs to be truthful because court, I mean, honestly, you're being deposed. But guys, the truth that might be coming out will expose an even bigger web that's going on behind the scenes. Remember how I said that certain funds are taken from certain people by a certain LT person to fund the careers of other people? What if there was a really big person that helped be the middleman so that this wasn't directly connected, and that person is about to be depositioned? And maybe that's why this person just happened to be friends with like all the big people in LA. We'll see what happens. I really feel bad for Taylor because this deposition, it's not, guys, okay, here's the thing. I am not against Taylor Swift. I used to be a Swiftie. I have tons of Taylor's music, actually. Bad Blood, one of my favorite songs. I want to say that Taylor Swift is going to come out of this squeaky clean. The truth is, no, guys, I'm really hoping that it doesn't go the way I see for Taylor Swift, because the truth is it might be the end of Taylor Swift if this actually comes out. I don't want to say that, but that's what they're telling me. So we'll really have to play this. I can't wait until this goes to court so that we can see how this all plays out, because guys, not only that, but I also heard that Blake has decided that she's going to go ahead and take the stand. And when I heard that, my angel said, this is going to be a bigger calamity than Amber Heard. So we'll definitely have to see what happens. With the exposing of what happened with Britney Spears, the exposing of what happened with Amber Heard, and now the possible exposing of what I can see with Blake Lively, this would be that three-prong hit that I said was going to happen in 2001. That was literally going to expose the underlying dealings of Hollywood and was going to completely flip everything on its head. And if things haven't already kind of been flipped on their head, I can't. This is their guy, and I just heard it again. They're like, no, this is just the start. Wait until the end of the year. Wait until you see what happens and how much stuff flips by the end of the year. You're going to be in shock. So on that note, we're going to jump into our last 20-minute sprint. And yeah, I think that's about it. And I just have to say, for all of you that live in red states, I'm really freaking jealous, because I live in a blue state, and we're not seeing the same effects with the job market and with their gas prices and with eggs. And truthfully, Washington just decided to increase taxes completely across the board. So the chances of me really actually trying to find a job out here, guys. So help a girl out. Get me to 500 subscribers so I can start doing readings for people live, and, you know, we can have a good time. All right. So on that note, 20 minutes on the clock, and I will see you all in 20 minutes. All right. And in 3, 2, 1. And don't forget to And that's the end of that sprint. It also helps if I push the right button. You know, we're professionals here. So that was the end of that sprint. 20 minutes done. I only got 31 pictures named, but the thing is I did some research too, because it suddenly dawned on me. I was sitting here ranting about dance moms and da-da-da-da, and then it hit me. Dance moms came to Spokane for a competition. They ended up going to a picnic. So I ended up doing some research on that sprint, figuring out exactly where they went. And I do know exactly where they went. It's actually down in Spokane Park. It's right next to the convention center. It's also known as the Red Wagon. It's a giant red wagon. So what I was thinking of doing is going down there and recording some footage and maybe doing like a mock picnic. A mock dance moms picnic, because that's what they did, is they ended up having a pre-dance picnic, and then maybe saving that as like B-roll for when we do our reaction channel and when that episode comes up, because it's not until season 5, so it's not for a while, but I thought it would be something fun that we could throw on the channel, and just I thought it would be entertaining too. And I found a extra clips video that actually shows different angles of the location. So I was thinking of matching the shots, as I'm so good at doing. So we'll see what happens. But guys, there might be a mock picnic coming of me. I wonder if I can get some local Spokane friends involved in doing it with me, because that would be fun. Anyway, that was our sprint. I hope you guys were able to get some work done. I hope that things were efficient for you. I hope that I was able to entertain you for a little bit with some new information. I've got some pretty wild and crazy conspiracies that I put out on this episode. So we'll have to see in the coming weeks what happens, right? Just keep an eye out, guys, for all the stuff that we've got in the works, from the reaction channel to the Dance Mom stuff to my uploads of just rants that are going to be coming soon. So we've got a lot coming on the channel. Like and subscribe. Let's get me up to 500 subscribers so we can do super chats. Fridays we're doing psychic readings, so I'm not leaving out my horoscopy and psychic friends. I love you guys. We will be covering that. It's a Scorpio full moon tonight, you guys. So if your emotions are getting the best of you, that might be why. So just take it easy, lay back, relax. Don't be mean to yourself, self-soothe, self-distract. And if you guys lift your glass and join with me, we'll do our end of stream cheers. And that'll be the end of our night. So may your angels be strong, may your energies be positive, and may karma be ever in your favor. And I will see you guys next time. And watch the outro, guys. I spent time on it. Just watch it, enjoy it, please. Thanks.